It's a lovely day again, and we're excited to sit here with you and discuss issues that concern you, that concerns me, that concerns all of us. In these conversations, my name is Elizabeth Abai. Glad to be back with you. Now, today is a special day for people to recognize special people. Yeah, we call them the warriors, but then I'm sure a lot of us know them as people living with sickle cell disease. Yes, about 50 million people globally are said to have sickle cell disease as of today, and Nigeria seems to be the epicenter because we have about 4 to 6 million people living with the disease. And I'd like to quote this directly. It says annually about 300,000 newly diagnosed sickle cell disease children are born worldwide. That's scary, because if we understand what really goes on, then we'll be more careful with what we reproduce as children and not put people in pain. But that's not for me to decide. We have people who are well vested. We have some warriors in the studio. We have parents as well, and we're sharing a lot of views. But let me quickly introduce my guest today. Hello.
Yes, my name is Deva Hamati, your mom, and it's good to be here.
Okay.
My name is Hawa Usman Sani, and I'm happy to be here.
And
my name is Joy Banachi. It's good to be here.
I thought you were going to say it's joyful to be here. So within the week when we actually have our discussion, my team members, a lot of things came to bear. Some people shared their story on sickle cell. Luckily, he was able to reenact one of the stories. Let's see it. Well, I was almost going to cry, so I'm trying to get myself back. The question is, love, is love really enough, in getting these things done? And I know that, I don't know, I know that particular story, maybe that's why it's affecting me emotionally. The people that got married and they were so much in love, at the end of the day, the love tore apart, the children eventually died. And the story that I want to bleed from there is she thinks that is a curse put on them by the parents, the villagers, everything. Is there anything like that? Can somebody swear on a person and develop SS? I don't know. How maybe you could share that with us?
Okay. That's an old saying. I know in the times of Abiku birth, he said people give birth to children and they keep dying. Unknown to them, most of those children were probably had sickle cell.
Yeah, because it's something as Ogbanje.
Yes, Ogbanje, and then they lost the children. But with technology, with advancement now, we know that it is not so. We know it is not so. So we could forgive having sickle cell children in times of our forefathers and grandfathers because they did not know. But I think technology is so advanced right now that a simple test, genotype compatibility test, would show that yes, you are likely to have an SS child.
Honestly, because when people are getting married, I always tell them the first thing you do is I check the family history, and in checking the family history, you're also checking the diseases around the family, the ones you can take care of. It's not just the sickle cell thing. If people have a history of epilepsy and other things, really, madness, whatever it is, it's better you get to know and know the way you can handle. But sickle cell, for me, it's a no-no. I don't know, Devon, I don't know, what is it about sickle cell that is so much of a stress for us to say, okay, people shouldn't get involved?
Well, I would say that I wish this question was thrown to a parent of a sickle cell patient. I think they would be in a better position. They have that experience. I am speaking as a patient myself who can only empathize with what a parent would go through. Now, for one thing, the real tragedy of the situation is sometimes no matter how carefully you tend to such a child, you tick all the boxes. You make sure that the nutrition is good, the child is not exposed to extremes of temperature, like not too cold, not too hot environment. The child is not being emotionally or psychologically stressed. The child is not being physically overwhelmed, taking all the medications and everything. You could tick all the boxes and that child will fall sick. Seriously? Just nothing unpredictable. You cannot point a finger
at what went wrong.
At what went wrong. As a parent, you've done everything that you're supposed to do, and if you're lucky and the child is, you know, some children are old souls. You know, they get to the program on time, they go themselves and take their medicine themselves, they know what they should do, what they shouldn't do and such. And yet, you know, a child that's happy and playful in the morning, in the daytime, you go to bed and then at 11 p.m. at night, when you think it's all good, a crisis is triggered. You don't know what caused it. And then, you know, and bizarrely enough, many crises tend to happen at night. Yeah. Midnight, 2 a.m., you know, when, you know, you're being patted awake at night, you know, you go into this frenzied. So it can be a very jarring experience for a parent, you know. And then imagine that you have more than one child. Let's even imagine best case scenario, the other children are healthy and this is the only one that's struggling with this condition. You know, you have to give this child extra attention. How do the other siblings feel? Do they really understand that it's not that you love this child more? You just have to focus on this one more because the child is frail. What are these other siblings, are they feeling neglected? How is it impacting your work? Are you able, for instance, a working mother whose child is in the midst of a crisis cannot be expected to travel for work. Will you go to work and go and tell your boss, my child is ill for what, the 19th time this year? Therefore, that important meeting that you were already given notice 3 months ago, and you're the person that's leading the delegation, you understand? So it can be disruptive. And if you are not a parent that is spiritually mature and emotionally grounded, before you know it, you're taking out your frustration on that child.
Seriously?
That same sick child. You come to resent the child. You're not careful, you come to hate the child. Yes, it happens. Many people imagine that because a child is frail, that child, the parents are petting. Yes, some parents do. But it's not every parent. Some parents can't handle it. And as it begins to impact their relationship negatively, the man and the wife, some parents, usually the mother, because she is the one who is saddled with the responsibility of caregiving mostly in our cultural setting. It's not every mother that is able to roll with the punches. Some begin to dislike the child. Some begin to resent the child.
I even pray for the child to die.
Yes.
You have seen experience like that?
There are situations like that.
So it's not every mother that can handle it. But I would say that if fathers would please come help your wives. Give her that emotional support. She didn't sit down and produce this child on her own, except if you are thinking the child is the product of an affair. Which it seems to be rampant nowadays, so I don't know what to say. Support your wife.
True.
Try to be affectionate with her still. Help her when she's looking after this child. I think that if men would step up to the plate a bit more, even those mothers that would ordinarily be resentful of the child would be able to cope better.
We'll get to the coping and support system. Let me get to by the way, congratulations. You just gave away your kid to a lovely marriage. Congratulations. I want to ask first, did they do the needful? Did they check genotype?
You see, those days, back in the days, people never used to do what do you call it, marriage counseling. So some people just, ignore it. But the first thing they did when they got to church was you had to go do all the tests.
Okay, the church now encourage it.
It's not. It's
a must.
It's a must.
Okay,
So, and guess what? You don't go to your own hospital.
Okay.
They have hospitals that you have to go to, because there have been instances where people knew the result and they lied, and the church didn't know. So the first things you have to do, those things you have to tick those boxes. And sickle cell, AS is, I think, the first on the list. Before
the genotype is first on the list.
The genotype thing is first on the list. And there was a situation because I'm in this group in church, and both of them were AS.
Wow.
And I couldn't believe what I heard. God is going to make a way. And the first thing I know is that they are not financially buoyant. So I knew that entering into that marriage, they are going to have a bit of issue. Eventually, they left the church.
Oh, just because they needed to go
No,
ahead.
they left the church because they had a child, and now the child
Sickle cell.
sickle cell.
Oh no.
And you see, I always used to tell people, now you now start calling people to give you money to take this child to the hospital. There's a level a father can take. Most of the times the mothers stay there, but after a while the man is, because even kids that are not sick, when the child is doing bad in school or he has this thing, this child is the mother's child. This child is the mother's, and all that. But when the child is doing so well, it's
the father's child.
The father's child. So I tell people, love is not enough, because when the chips are down, you're going to carry that thing yourself, and most of the time, the fathers are never there to help you.
It's important that we get it done. Maybe we're just wondering the other things people do to make sure they procreate without having challenges. I know is the artificial way of getting pregnant. That's the IVF, and I know that it's not that cheap. I was just checking. In Nigeria alone, they said the cheapest you can get is 900,000. It also has come down. It used to be in millions. 900,000 in Nigeria.
More hospitals are providing such services nowadays.
But then I am also reliably told, I'm still reading here, that it's not a guarantee. There is still causes for failure. A young girl was getting married, and that question came up. I tried to advise, but I'm not that much of an expert, so I still sought expert's view. I know she went to one of the hospitals here to ask questions, and the doctor, as much as he's well vested in it, that's Dr. Wada, gave him a capital no. She still went back to Florida to ask questions from a renowned hospital and a doctor, a professor in medicine. They also said no. I tried to find out why the no's are coming big time. They said, apart from the fact that you cannot trust that IVF completely, you have it's a 50-50 chance thing. You also have emotional issue attached to it. For you to really get into Professor Dieter was supposed to join us today, but unfortunately she couldn't come. That's the professor in medicine from Florida. But she said she was able to do a few things for her own children, but it was a lot of costs, mostly on the emotions.
Her children also genotype SS?
Yes.
Oh.
They're able to do stem cell.
Stem cell, oh.
Yes, and 2 of them are now AA, as it is. Wow. So, but she said it was a lot of emotional costs. And because she's actually a professor in this area, it was cheaper for her, and her husband understood. But you can imagine people who are coming from maybe my own background, completely arts inclined. We don't know anything about medicine. We don't know anything about science. Getting involved in it is going to tear you apart. But let's get to find out a typical crisis period. Let me start with Hawa. What is it you feel like? How does it happen? When it starts.
Let me give the recent one, the most recent crisis I had. I was discharged yesterday.
Wow.
Yes.
Thanks to God.
We had a sickle cell program on Saturday, June 15th, in commemoration of the World Sickle Cell Day. The topic was thriving with sickle cell disorder. And for me personally, when I have goals and aspirations and I want to do something, I put my all into it to make sure it is successful. So, I mean, I put in my energy into that, time, funds, energy, and alhamdulillah, the program went well. I got home that day and I passed out. I was just popping pills throughout to stay strong and not break down. Because the next day is Salah, and I'm a married woman and a mother, and I'm a Muslim. I'm going to kill ram and probably entertain people. So I went home and slept and did nothing that day. The next morning I woke up and my daughter and my husband went for Eid prayers. I stayed back, tried to take things slow, so I got a caterer and everything. So they got back and we killed the rams and started preparing. I didn't eat that ram. The crisis suddenly started that morning. Started from my chest as if they were just boo, 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 boo. I'm like, it will go down. Let me just go and use a suppository diclofenac to come down. I went to the room, lay down, and everything was just doing boo, boo, boo. I was supposed to buy some other things from the market. So I sent my cousin that stays with me to go to market. As we were going out, I was like, this crisis is a killer one. Oh. I have to find a solution. So I said, please wait. I ran into the car, dropped me at the hospital. So I ran to the hospital. You should have seen me. I was rolling on the bed, shouting, I need help. So I didn't know I'll be strong enough to come for this interview today. I was discharged yesterday and felt a bit better. I rested, and this morning I thought, let me just come and.
So stress is one of the things that can cause
stress. For me personally, emotional stress. So you see, emotional stress triggers for me. A lot was pulling at me at that time for that program.
Not physical stress, really. Emotional.
It's a whole lot. Sickle cell crisis can be triggered by extreme temperatures, extreme cold, extreme heat, physical stress, malaria, infections, emotional stress. Yeah, a whole lot could trigger a crisis.
I think when you mentioned emotional stress, and I noticed Devon was nodding to it.
Yeah, for me, malaria and emotional stress trigger mine more than physical stress. Physical stress, when I'm optimal, I can do practically any work and not collapse. I'll be fine. But if there are even the slightest traces of malaria in my system, and I'm stressing myself physically, it just starts with this constant temperature that refuses to go anywhere, then fatigue, constant exhaustion, which for me immediately leads to irritability with small things. But for me, my main triggers are malaria and emotional stress. So if I allow myself to get unduly emotionally triggered, it can trigger it. It can cause, and for me mostly, now crisis manifests itself in two ways. It could be through anemia. That's your blood, your blood just drops. It's almost as if you're bleeding out somewhere.
When it drops, do you see the blood outside?
No.
It's just
certainly not. The blood level, it's called PCV.
Okay.
I think for the average woman who doesn't have sickle cell, it's about 35. For most women that have sickle cell, it could be between 24 to 30, 32. But when you're anemic, even getting up to 20, 22, 23 becomes a challenge.
Wow.
Even when you're eating well, somehow you're just having difficulty building your blood up, and that can trigger something else. Then another manifestation is the bone pain crisis. That one beggars belief.
Wow.
If I try to describe the pain of it, it will sound as if I'm exaggerating. And I mean, at the end of the day also, I'm not looking for pity or anything, but I think the closest I can describe it is like having like labor pains,
Okay.
intense labor pain. But even that one is not a good descriptor, because there are women who don't suffer too much pain during labor. Then there are the ones that go through agony. So which level of labor? So if you've experienced a toothache, a really bad toothache, it's like having a toothache in your bones.
Yes, true.
Yeah.
Toothache is unbearable.
So it's like having a tooth, and if you are very unlucky, if you have one of those that's really bad, everywhere that any bone is passing in your body will be in pain. Your skull
Hey, gosh.
will be in pain. Your sternum will be in pain. But for me, whatever pain I'm feeling, I know what I can manage at home. I know the one that once it starts, I must go to hospital, and that's my spine. Once I feel any tingling sensation in my spine,
Why is that so?
for me, that's what I've noticed. If the leg is doing me one thing, this one, I can take something, lie down, take a lot of water, I'll be able to manage myself. But if I feel it in my spine, no, I'm going to hospital.
Okay.
And usually when I go to hospital, even stabilizing me at that point becomes a problem. It might take 2-3 days to manage, because once it starts, it must spread. But if it's localized elsewhere, if I take my painkillers, rehydrate myself and stuff, the pain will go away. But if it goes to the spine, it doesn't go away until I go to hospital and go and have the drips and everything. And even so, it might take some days before the painkillers kick in. So within that whole time, you're in pain,
So that you'll probably be shouting for help.
No. When this pain is good and done, you don't have the energy to shout.
You think I'm really good and done.
You can't shout, because when you shout, it causes more pain.
Oh no.
So you just find yourself gasping. I don't like even describing it, because it sounds so pathetic, but it's just the reality of what it is.
But it needs to be described. The reason I asked for that detail is because even as at today, there are people who are still thinking about going to marry, an AS person. And I keep asking why. You tell me because I love him. Like she said, God will take care of things. God will assist you. Like people say that God haven't had those, I have themselves.
Let me come in here. You see, the fact that two people who are AS is no guarantee that they will have an SS child. And that's why some people take the risk. There are people who are AS and have had only AA and AS kids.
I know.
And there's nothing wrong with that. There are people who are AS who have had only SS kids. Nobody knows the combination you're going to have. So some people, when that love is there, they want to take the chance. I don't advocate that they should, but I'm just using this opportunity to explain that I understand why people take that risk. There is no certainty that because you are both AS, you will definitely have an SS child. No.
It's a question of trying the gods, if you ask him.
Well, I guess so. But life itself is a risk. However, I would say that if you are a couple and you are both AS and you've had 2 kids and you are lucky and SS has not come yet, it's okay. Even if they are both girls, which is usually, that's where people want to, I need to have a son. Or they're both boys, it would be nice to have a girl. No. You have already tempted fate enough. Okay. These two that are okay. I had this pharmacist friend. There are 7. There are 7 of them in the family. All boys. They're all boys. Now, the parents of my parents' generation, so of course they didn't know their genotype when they got married. And they were having these kids, and the kids were perfectly fine. AAS, they didn't even know their genotypes. They just knew their children were fine. But in a bid to look for a daughter, the mother kept having kids until the 7th one now was SS.
Wow.
And that was when SS, and this friend of mine, being a pharmacist, was like, that means if this child is SS, that means both of you are carrying the S gene. And that was when they all decided to get their genotypes done and discovered that all of them up to number 6 were either AA or AS. So imagine the parents had stopped having kids at maybe the 4th or 5th child. Or even the 6th. They wouldn't even have known that the S gene is an issue in the family. But because the mother was looking for a daughter, that was how she ended up. So you see, they got up to number 6 without having an SS. It was number 7 that was now an SS. Then I know another family where they are both AS2. Again, they didn't know. The first child is AA, a boy. Then they had another child, and this one was now SS, a girl.
I actually think it's funny. Sorry, I have it's not that she's my friend, quite rich and all that, and you know, a situation where there were 2 women who the man wanted. He was dating both of them, and the parents of the guy preferred the richer one. So they said she knew she was AS. And guess what she did? She lied.
And told the man she wanted to marry the man.
Just because she wanted to marry the man.
What was his own genotype?
Situations like
he is AS.
Yes, okay.
So the situation now is, I am in shock because I had a roommate in school, and from that experience that my friend went through, I don't think I would ever, love cannot conquer it. You see, growing up, I already knew everything about sickle cell because of my friend. You understand? But when this girl I eventually married this man, 2 have sickle cell.
Out of how many?
4. And the others are AS. If you see the torture, was it worth it?
I know that's particular scenario. I'm sure the man will not sympathize with the woman.
No, he was cheating. He was angry. Eventually, he went to marry the other one. But you see, the situation now is, you have kids who have sickle cell. I want parents to not think about themselves. You know, most people, out of selfish interest, I love him, I don't want somebody else to have him, I must marry him, he must work, God will make a way. Yes, God is making a way. I know people who have SS, who their genotypes have changed. But what if yours doesn't change?
God made a way when he told you to do your genotype before wedding.
No, but now, the problem now we're having is genotypes are changing.
Changing?
Oh, yes. My darling.
Miraculously?
Yes. I'm not joking. I never heard it.
Did they do stem cell?
No, they didn't. It was prayer.
Wow.
And let me tell you, it's happening. I know people, and it's not about them say, I know people who is working for. And that's the problem I'm having right now, because this is happening, and I don't know, many people are saying, God will change my own. God, if I go to God and I have kids who are SS, if I pray,
I'll change their blood type.
I want parents to look. All the time I'm always here. Parents, please. The man will leave you. Because most of the time when these kids have this crisis, most of the time the men are not there.
True.
So please, mothers, I'm not castigating fathers, but mothers, women,
Do what's best for you.
that's it.
Careful.
You know, think about your children.
You people are already, matured, so to speak. As she talked, my mind was, picturing that little girl that is 5 years, 10 years in primary school, and the kind of stigma they get. Did you experience that?
Oh, in primary school, my mom had
They
to
make
come
you
to
look like an imbecile.
Yeah.
We had to come to school to tell them, please, they don't beat Hawa like this, you don't do this, you don't. She had to. So, of course, I was known as the special kid. Then in secondary school, I went to a government school in Lagos, so you can imagine, in Surulere,
Were you
like the other kids will be like SS.
Oh God.
SS. you Sickle. Hey, you Sickle. And I was quite skinny and always falling ill. And then my mom would put glucose in my mom did a lot. I really appreciate her because I don't know how far I would have come without her commitment. She would put glucose in my water bottle. Then she said, please, people should not drink Hawa's water. She needs to drink a lot of water. And there's glucose in her water. So if they want to insult me, they say Sickle, you Sickle. SS.
How do you feel?
Well, of course I wasn't happy. Sometimes I would sit on my seat, I would cry. I didn't have a lot of friends like that. So it was fine. Then I got to the university and I had this limp. You see, sickle cell is subjective. Some people might suffer this, others might not suffer this. There's avian, there's the leg ulcers. I'm lucky that I didn't come down with the leg ulcers. But the avian started when I was in SS2 and we had to go to Leeds. They said they had to do a surgery. We did not have the money to do that surgery then, so we had to do some x-rays, avian, a vascular necrosis of the head of the femur. It could happen in the shoulder or other places, but mine was in the
bones.
So we didn't have the money, so I was walking with a pronounced limp. So they said, oh, that SS girl that limps. That SS girl that limps.
This is extreme stigma.
So
Extreme.
I didn't experience stigma in school at all. I know that in pre-primary school, I had this teacher that really couldn't stand me because, she was, it's not every woman that's maternal or nurturing. She really, really hated me, yeah? I'll say that much. But I don't think it was even because I was a sickler per se. It was just that she was this kind of teacher that liked sending people's children on errands.
And she couldn't
then she couldn't send me because I was too afraid. So she really hated that. And then I used to be ridiculously shy. I couldn't talk and all that. So she hated me. So there's that one. That was in primary. Yes.
wow.
All my teachers from primary school to secondary, I'm sure when they see me on TV now, they are shocked. Because I was always a shy person. I would be shy, but in secondary school, I was also the leader of the debate team. And there's no debate we went for that we didn't win. But then I'd come back and be this shy person again. So it was like two different. Anyway, I digress. So I didn't experience bullying or stigma or things like that in school, in academic setting. I experienced it at home.
How?
Our parents would bring in relatives. From home, you have these relatives that you bring in from home, you're paying their fees, and they're in the house, they help you with work, you pay their fees, you clothe them, give them a better life and such. So it was my cousins that were in the house with me that would do that, say the nasty things and all of that, because they were naturally doing more work than me, but I had parents who would not let me lounge in the name of sickness. No. My parents made sure I had chores, but they gave me chores that I could handle considering my health. And these relatives that were coming from home that didn't really have a good understanding of what was going on with me felt that I was being treated as their Jabota kid while they were the ones doing the grind and everything. So these cousins used to put me through hell at home, and I wouldn't tell my parents.
I was just going to ask you,
I never told my parents. Never told my parents. And they both go to work. They were both working.
Why did you not discuss it? You were scared?
What? Why? These are the people you are living in the house with.
Yes.
I will tell you, maybe you'll scold them or whatever. But you will leave the house, you will go out or you will go to work. I will deal with these same set of people again. On the flip side, you can tell them to leave, but then who is helping you around the house?
Nobody.
I can't do it.
That was good thinking as a child.
Yes, so I had to enjoy a lot of that in silence. So the bullying for me was in the domestic environment, not in school.
Outside.
In school, apart from that other teacher I spoke about, I was almost always teacher's pet. I had teachers who loved me, who treated me so well. Some of my best friends till date are friends from secondary school, some from primary school. So the bullying for me was in the house.
So you're very lucky, because my own classmate, after a while they now started calling her names, Obanje, and that she was a witch and all that, because when it's time to, she took her time for everything. If she's sleeping, she takes time to wake up, But I think then when we were in school, that is something years ago. I think the sickle cell was not something that was very known, and she went through hell, because one thing I noticed then in school was that they gave her chores that always triggered it. Yeah, I don't know whether.
Okay, she was in the boarding school.
Well, yeah, and you see, that was one thing I always want to tell parents, that if you know your kids have sickle cell,
keep them at home.
I think you should keep them at home. And because the girl went through hell, how she finished those 5 years, she's such a tough cookie. I see her now, she has 3 kids.
Oh, wow,
she is working. But you see, let me tell you why why it worked for her, because hers was really bad, was because she went abroad. You know all those, when you're there and you have all those kind of things, they treat you with, that's it. So for her, it has worked for her. I see her all the time. We're always partying and having fun. And when I think of what she went through when we were in school, I won't lie to you, I didn't think she was going to survive, but she did. She's surviving, and she's surviving well.
Oh, and my mom got bullied too, nasty family members. In my culture, if you don't have a son, you don't have a child.
Okay.
So she had the misfortune of having one child that was female and sickly. So if anybody started anything with her, they would go there first. Like you don't even have a child. Don't even come and stand here and start saying anything. So she went through that. She went through that.
So parents go through it as well.
Yeah.
That's really serious. I never thought of it from that angle.
Oh yes,
she did. This one is always drinking blood.
Hey,
I know my mom heard that.
No, but most of the time is when the people that used to experience this, most of the time, are from polygamous homes. Because I had some friends who, I think, when they start to quarrel, they said, "You think you are counting this one? This one is not among us humans." Yes, and all that. But I think sometimes it's just out of spite and wickedness.
I'd like to know, you have had, children, and you're going through a she too has had her own children. I'm wondering, a lot of times we hear that when you're SS, you can't get through pregnancy just that easily. How did you manage it?
Well, like I said earlier, sickle cell is subjective.
Okay.
It plays differently for everybody. I know sickle cell patients that have successfully had 2-3 children without stress. But for me, it was difficult. The first pregnancy, crisis upon crisis, blood transfusions, EBTs, expensive and quite traumatizing. So unfortunately, that didn't end well. I had a stillbirth.
The first one?
The first one.
And you still went again?
I went again. And it was so traumatizing for me that I had to start seeing doctors, psychologists and all that. Like, hey, because I would sit there and look at all the clothes I bought. I was so excited. I was having a baby boy and all that. And we had to bury the baby and all that. So it was quite traumatizing for me. And I would say that the hospital didn't manage me well.
Oh.
Yes, the hospital didn't manage me well. And imagine giving birth on the bed in general ward around 3 a.m. before they finally attempt you to push you to the labor ward. So, but before then, I already had what they call intrauterine death, fetal death. So IUFD or something. The baby had died in the womb, so they had to induce labor. That's the first one. They had to induce labor. So that happened.
Is not easy.
Like 5 days.
They call it hot drip, right?
It was horrific. It was horrific, and it took me like a year to get over all that. So I tried again, and this time the same crisis started. So I was going to a better hospital this time, and they put me on bed rest. By the time we got into the second trimester, they said I had to stay because I can be a busy bee. I want to do my work, I want to do this, I want to do that. So the doctor put me on bed rest for like 5 months until we had the CS, and my baby is doing fantastic. I'm grateful to God.
I'm really grateful. Really grateful to God for that, because the story we hear is quite different. But incidentally, I know someone who has 3. They are twins, really, and both of them are SS. but they're married and they have children. So I pray that it works out for them. But then your child is not.
No, she's AS. Well, that's another thing. Before I got married, I was very particular. I had to marry someone that was AA.
Okay.
So when I met my husband and he asked me, he wasn't quite sure. I was like, okay, we'll go to the hospital and check the lab. So I took him to the first lab, took the second one, third one. When it was consistently AA, they were okay, so maybe we can think about a relationship.
So it's like when somebody comes and what's your genotype? Before you from the first
So that if you know you want to discriminate now and move on. I've had people say, well, I don't think I want to date someone that is SS. I've had such. Yes, I've had.
And that's okay.
I was actually going to ask about that.
When I knew that I was done with school, started working, if you came around and you wanted to date me, I'd be like, okay, that's cool. I'm genotype SS. Do you know your genotype? And they're like, yeah, I'm O positive. I'm like, no. That one there, call our blood group. Yeah, so what is genotype? In fact, I ended up educating so many men about what genotype was.
Wow.
In a bid to eventually settle down. And there were lots of relationships that didn't go anywhere because the person would be like, yeah, I did that test and it's AS. I'm like, cool, so we can be nice friends. Yeah, because it's not going beyond, you know, let's just be friends and all this. So there's that. There was one person I was engaged once before I got married, and he adamantly refused to do his genotype test because he said he knew that if it turned out to be AS, that I would not go ahead with it. But that relationship fizzled out on its own for other reasons. But that's that. And for me, I think I have a miracle story. I had a very easy pregnancy. Very, very easy pregnancy. Not even one crisis. It was in the month I was to give birth that I almost had a crisis, and my uncle who delivered my baby at the time, he was a gynecologist, one of the top in Benin State at the time, Dr. Shini. The minute he noticed that I was going into a crisis, he was like, off to the theater we go, and brought the baby out. So I didn't even get to experience labor or, you know, and all of that. So it was smooth sailing. I didn't have any issues.
That's a good one. Some people are writing in. Let's see if we can pay visit to them before our time packs up. He says, my name is Yabari from River State. My wife's name is Mary. Both of us are ASAS and our son is SS. But now, to the glory of God, Yabia is AA and my son is now AA. What magic did you do?
No, it's a God.
I want to know how you transformed the blood, or was it just
You should have told us.
She didn't mention that. Okay, let's quickly get more. This person says, moderator, you made mention of knowing family history before marriage. Don't you think family may not open up on health issues of their family, especially cross-cultural marriage where distance is a barrier to inquire of the family history? Pastor Okay, I actually think that you could do more than just asking the people direct. If you're going to marry somebody, if I want to marry,
if you ask the people direct, you are
it's
not them you ask.
It's not them you ask people. Yeah, they have friends. That's why you need to do courtship to understand the people you're getting married to. Okay, let's see if we can take one more. This person says, hope there is no problem with it because I learned that they are carriers. The first text message, this looks like a follow-up. The first one did not come through, so you may have to tell us. You're checking your message. You explain more. All right, so how do we go about ensuring that we educate our children properly? That's my question. Moving on with the theme of today's celebration.
Well, the good thing is, like, for Christianity, it is now a requirement for you to have these tests. Somehow, some churches have specific hospitals that you must go to. My church did not have any hospital that they were directing us to. They just told us the import of going there and coming back with lies and told us how. No, true, because I mean, like, they're just direct with us, like, you're not children.
Yeah.
So if you go there and you get a different result and you choose to come and lie to us, it's going to be on you.
Yeah.
So they gave us the independence of going wherever we needed to go and do whatever tests we needed to do, and we came back with honest results, which I'm not going to share. So there's that. So churches insist on that. HIV, which is also good. I would beg churches to please add mental evaluation to it. No, seriously. The way some people behave in marriage, I don't think that some of them are mentally sound. So that helps. Now, programs such as this, very, very good. This is network. It's on the network. So people are watching nationwide. The hope and desire is that they're getting some lessons from it. Then advocacy. People like me and Hawa that are living with sickle cell disease or disorder, whatever you want to call it. Not everybody wants to speak up. Some people are ashamed. Some people feel they'll be stigmatized. I speak up to give parents particularly hope, because many parents and mothers can feel overwhelmed and feel as, hello, I'm a success story. I'm a success story. I'm a success story. I dare say that I am a success story today because I have overwhelming support. I'm married to somebody who knew from the get-go what my situation is, and he supports me 100%. If I'm sick, he's there. He's with me in hospital. I'm the one who chases him away, like, you need to go make money to pay these bills. So don't come and sit here and be doing it. Other people can do me that. Go to office and sign some paperwork. So go to work. I'm the one who chases him out of the hospital. So I have a lot of support from my husband, from my kids, I have a fantastic family support system, and I want to use this opportunity to give them a huge shout out, including my uncles, aunts, whoever. If I get sick now, for instance, my husband is now ready. If with one phone call, the hospital, my village will storm Abuja to come and stay with me in the hospital.
That's a good one.
So I want to thank everybody for everything they've done for me so far. My big shout out goes to Barrister Romy Mom, my husband. He's been my wonderful support system. Also, Sickle, everybody in the house. I don't want to start calling names. We're a huge family. I want to thank everybody. So things like this help.
Yes, it does help. And somebody said here, like, I think you're talking about what you said one of the discussions that's really said about genotype changing might be a case of wrong results from the lab people.
Sure. Yeah.
In that case, parents should go for more authentic investigation, like HPLC government facilities, whatever that is. I'm not going to help you do your marketing. Anyway, what he said is actually true. No, the professor I mentioned said she was told she was AA while in Nigeria. Because I asked, how come you're in the medical field and you still married this way? She said she was told AA.
It was a mistake.
It was when the first one happened that she had to do a test again and found out that she was AS. So always ensure that you do a confirmatory test to ensure that you and your future children are in order. Let's see what's more. This person says, good morning to our mothers over there. Is the spirit of this day. I would like to ask one question. The question is, why is it that the question of genotype compatibility is gaining momentum these days? What I mean, my parents told me that when they got married in the 60s, they did not go to hospital for genotype compatibility. And none of their children is a sickle cell patient. The same to majority of our other families around. Why is the disease so rampant now? And I'll give you a simple answer. It's not that the disease wasn't there.
Oh, it was there.
Back in the day, they used to call them Obanje, Abiku. They keep dying, and the parents keep reproducing. Meanwhile, it wasn't exactly that. And this person says, okay, good morning, great work. My name is Honorable Okechukwu. I am interested for today's conversation concerning sickle cell. And and it says what Devon Mom has also added to us. Thank you very much. I'm happy we caught your interest. As much as we can, I'll try to take all of the messages. Good morning to you all. You said it is possible for AA and AS and AS to marry without having SS in future. Does it mean the cross we do have in biology does not hold? Please explain to me.
I think that question is directed at me because I was the one that
you were the one
that diagram. I know what the person meant when they said the cross.
Yeah.
That diagram tends to be confusing. People think that it is not carved in stone. That diagram is meant to give you an idea of what might happen. But it doesn't mean that it will definitely happen in that pattern. In fact, an AS and an AS can marry and wind up with only AS kids.
Yes.
They will not have an AA at all. That's an impossibility.
No.
But there have been instances of AS and SS marrying. Now, ordinarily, you'd feel that because there's so many S's in the combination, they should definitely wind up with SS for the most part. And that's not always the case. There is no specific pattern that will definitely happen. So I am still exhorting that in any combination, any couple that have a combination of S this way and S this way, maybe AS, SC, whatever, if you have had even one child that came out clean, when I say clean, I mean not SS or SC, stop.
Okay. For me, I would say outright no.
Okay. In this case, they're already married.
No, what I'm saying is that, no, you see, the thing here is that some people, like what you suggested, some people will just sit down now and pick what you have said and said, oh, it's possible. So it's better for them to know that, for me, everybody is different. It's a no-no.
And let me add to that.
No-no.
That diagram says 1 in 4. It's not 1 in 4. He said there's a probability that in every
pregnancy has a
25% chance that the child might come out SS. You might be lucky. This thing is kalo.
Exactly.
It's gamble. You might throw your dice. It's a game of probability, and if you will be lucky, it will be AA or AS or SS.
But what we are saying is don't take the risk.
Don't take the risk. Okay, so
we'll talk about the child.
We'll just go with the message because our time is up. We are told today, don't take the risk. I love you, I love you. When love reach SS, then you understand that it's difficult. It's better you stop it. Some people who are saying that back in the day, it worked and it didn't work. Well, maybe because the parents didn't know, they were more affectionate and better able to cope with it. But for now, don't walk into the fire with your eyes open. Do your genotype and save your tomorrow's child. Perhaps if I was a child and my parents gave birth to me SS at this generation, I'll think of doing something really bad to them because I feel they hate me. Alright, our time is not there.
If my parents had known, I wouldn't hold it again.